We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports? We hope that you guys are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. Huge show in store tonight for all of you boys and girls, all of you ladies and gents, as we are ever so close to LSU football yet again in only a couple of days. So we'll talk a lot of LSU. Maybe get into some topics. Maybe watch a little UL Ohio. So if you got some updates on that, let us know. Let us know. But we got a lot to get into tonight as we'll get to some keys of to victory for LSU. What are some things that I want to see moving forward? Carter, the Power Bryant, joins us at 7:20 p.m. Central Time. Our first guest that we've been able to bring on since Hurricane Ida. Looking forward to talking a lot of football with Carter as he does a great analysis of film breakdown, LSU score predictions, hashtag Ask Blake, and picks of the week. We'll get into all of it. Very excited to be back and live and in our, I guess you could call, new studio until Spectrum gets off their rear ends and gets us back into the additional studio. We are at the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Guys, get over here today, 154 West Pond Street, Ponchatoula, Louisiana. That's 154 West Pond Street in Ponchatoula, Louisiana, 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600. Family law, successions, titles, DWIs, whatever you need, they can get it done for you. So we're greatly appreciative of our good friends Ernie Drake and Ryan Williams. But before we get started, as always, guys, do me a huge favor by hitting that like and share. If you're on Facebook, I think that there's a good many of you on Facebook right now. I'm not 100% sure, but do us a favor by hitting the like and share button. Share to some groups. A lot of people got upset with me last night on last night's episode. So if you missed it, go to anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple, and you can get it there. Yeah, I'm a little short on this. I need to get up a little bit. See, we're still having some malfunctions, but we'll get it fixed. As I'm a little low, on the camera. Oh well. But go do that. And if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. Also, if you're on Twitter, hit that retweet and follow. That's not what I want to do. I want to get a couple of these comments. Jacob Cole says, let's go in Carter Bryant's voice. Really looking forward to it. I know that me and Carter usually cut up. We will cut up. We will do some funny stuff. He calls me Blake from Nottingham for whatever reason, which is kind of pretty funny. But we'll get into it with Carter tonight. It's going to be fun. Gino Vega. What's up, Gino? Says, go LSU. Kirk Paul says, good evening, everyone. Gino sends us some stars via Facebook. I really appreciate when all you ladies and gents send us stars and super chats. I think we're going to start doing a thing, maybe a special show. I wanted to do that when we got back in studio. Send a star or a super chat, and we'll answer the questions. We'll go a little behind the scenes. If you got some serious questions, I'll give you the full everything I know behind that. Craig Schilling says, when we are live. So let's get this thing started. Let's pay some bills around this thing, and then we'll get into it. Some of my keys to the victory this upcoming Saturday, and we'll get to yours as well. None better than our good friends over at GM Varnado & Sons. BetOnline.ag. Guys, with 63 years of experience, nobody is better equipped to servicing your vehicle than GM Varnado & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. Give them a call today at 225-664-9992. That's 225-664-9992. And tell them your good friend, Mr. Blake Ruffino, sent you on by it. Our good friends over at betonline.ag. Guys, I've been telling you for so long now to get over to BetOnline, the mobile betting app that everyone has been missing inside the state of Louisiana. Guys, we went 4-1 on our picks last week, looking to do the same. We want to go undefeated, but I was okay with Texas getting their asses beat by Arkansas. Get over to betonline.ag today. Sign up. Use the 50% welcome bonus. they will do a little 50% of that first welcome bonus as a credit. All you got to do is go to our radio podcast, and since you're in the state of Louisiana, they will know it's from your good friend Blake Ruffino at AYS. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. All right, let's get this thing rolling. Danny Krantz said, I don't see it. I'm missing it. What did Danny say? Here it goes. Let's go, Blake. Let's go, Tigers. We are live. That we are, my friend. And so does Blaine. But he says, any news today about LSU? Well, Ed Orgeron did confirm my story from last night in his press conference today about some jarring going on inside of LSU. Last night, I told you that there's been some situations at practice this week where some LSU players and leaders have started to emerge. Now, either one of two things I fully believe is going to happen here, right? Like, there's only two things that's going to happen here. Number one is, I'm going to back up some. That way you guys, there we go. I'm going to back up some. How about that? Makes me feel better. Two things that are going to happen. One, LSU is going to come out and really start dominating the line of scrimmage. And they're going to start dominating the way that they should have been doing all season long. Like, I fully expect that. I fully expect LSU to do that. Just from some tidbits that I've been getting from practice this week. We have not been able to go. It's been raining all week. They've been indoors. But just some jarring going back and forth from some of the players. So one of my keys to victory is obviously number one. And I'm going to go a little Eminem here, a little Marshall Mathers. Will the real LSU please stand up? Will the real LSU please stand up? Because you're not playing like the real LSU right now. I see talent all across that field that's just not being utilized. Now, Orgeron over the last week this week nationally and locally has been taking criticism from individuals who is saying things like, well, Ed always tells you what, they praise him during 19 for being so open and honest. And look, they criticize him now for being too open and honest. The thing is that the only thing that Ed Orgeron can do right now is to start to win if he's going to save his job. And I hate to put it in that light, but they got to get ready to go. Derek Stingley, my man, you got to become a leader. No more of this lead by example when the example isn't the best. Let's start going. Let's start getting vocal. Jake Crane from the J-Boy Show, I thought put it great because he tagged me in one of his clips. And I thought he put it fantastic when he said, which made me start to think in his thing when he was talking about when I think LSU, I think defense. It started to make me think about just the culture that we're missing. So when we talk about LSU having a culture problem, I think that they do right now. They seriously might have a culture issue. Where's that swag? Like if I'm in Tiger Stadium and I'm the guy that plays the music before kickoff, forget, B.I., I'm from Louisiana. Forget Sweet Home or Sweet Home. Forget Garth Brooks, Colin Baton Rouge. Forget all of it. Play swag surfing and get your swag back. Somebody on special teams, if you kick the ball off, get down there and light somebody up. Set the tone. Get that rhythm back. You're missing it. You're missing it. Where is it at? Where's it been? Ed Orgeron, so number two, Ed Orgeron's talking about going up tempo. Guys, I don't really give two Rudy Poos that he's telling people that they're running up tempo. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, it just really doesn't matter because, look, if he does it in the first – they're going to find out and they're going to adjust. They're going to get ready for it. You've already put that you can go up tempo and you've put that on film. You think Central Michigan – do you think Jim McElwain's dumb enough, which he's not a dumb coach, but not to say, well, hey, the 5 touchdowns they scored and 5 for 5 and running tempo. I mean, he's not an idiot. And you're going to see pressure all night. There was number 3, and then I'm going to get to some comments. And really defensively, I'll get into number 4, but and I want to talk to Carter about this one, getting on the defense. But for me, SEC StatCat, if you follow them on Twitter at SEC StatCat, they came out with a statistic today that was really jarring to me. Alabama and Georgia running backs are average, I think it's like 1.5 yards per carry when they're getting contacted. So what does that mean? Or how many yards do you go before you get contacted? So basically, when the running back gets the ball, how long are you going before someone touches you or gets any kind of contact on you? Alabama's at 1.5 or 1.4, and Georgia's at 1.5. Guys, Alabama had 155 rushing yards in the opening game, and Bryce Young had like negative 18 because of a couple sacks that he took. At some point, one of these running backs is going to have to step up. And look, if you don't have a hole and you have a small crease, get 3, 4, 5 yards, put your head down, and run somebody the frick over. Run somebody over. Because, I hate to say this about Les and get back to that, but you know what? One thing that his running backs did? They would run you the frick over. Here comes the train. Get your ass off the tracks because daddy's coming through. Defensively, number 4. I want to see him send pressure. Orgeron talked about in his press conference today, we got to run zone. We got to back off and only rush 4. Ed, with all due respect, brother, no. Big Daddy, send the house. Send the house. Light somebody up. Like, if Derek Stingley and Elias Ricks are the 2 best corners in the country, like what the Ravens did Monday night in that overtime game, they did nothing but run cover 0. By the way, shout out to the Peyton Manning and Eli tandem show with Russell Wilson. I thought it was fantastic. I got to see the clips of it. I forgot about it. But the Ravens didn't care. They thought that they had good corners, better corners than what the Raiders wide receivers would do. It bit them in the ass, but they got after Lamar Jackson and contained him there in the fourth quarter and late or all of overtime. So start getting after some people's asses. Jacob Cole says, rooting for ULL. I refuse to call them Louisiana. I'm with you there. It's very difficult for me to call them UL at Lafayette. Like, come on, bro. Nookie says, this is the number 1 show with co-eds. Megan Traeger Ruffino, it's not true. We do not talk to co-eds on the show. Craig Schilling says, the Rudy Poo camera got smacked around and is finally back in line. I will put the Rudy Poo of the week on that one on me. I will put that one on me. It charged all day long. The problem is I'm still trying to fix, situate myself and get ready to go. So we'll continue to adjust. You know what the truth is that I'll get more adjusted in here, get ready to go and be good. And then the freaking internet will come back on. But they did say it would be December. So, which is just unreal, man. Aaron says, love watching Carter's film breakdowns. I do too. I think, sometimes, the good thing, and I think that we're going to, I love Carter to death, like wearing his wristband right now. I think that, I don't know if we're going to get into debate, but I think that we're going to just try to figure out what is going on right now. I think that there might be some things that we disagree with and disagree on, but I think that our central theme is going to be the same. And I love Carter to death. I really do believe that. Blake, my son, just likes hearing you call me Pooh Bear. What's up, Pooh Bear? But he says LSU by 21. I like that. You'll forever now, Henry, be known as Pooh Bear. I won't call you anything else. Roderick says, I hope we come out with that LSU intensity this Saturday. Let's start making that line of scrimmage ours with the flex emoji. Yeah, look. And I want to be physical all around. stop tippy-toeing around. Both I would say both lines of scrimmage, but offensive line, you get Deculus back. Guys, I would legitimately have told the guys all week long, I would have tried to simplify it as much as I could and say, knock this son of a bitch in the mouth. Punch him in the mouth. Another thing, too, I know that Mike Scarborough at Tiger Bait has talked about this, and I'm going to steal this from him. And I kind of agree from it, too. Guys, you can find aggressiveness in penalty when you have penalties, meaning if you have an offensive lineman that's holding, like what was the hold on? Like, was he being aggressive? Did he just, get a little too much jersey? Like, LSU is one of the least penalized teams, not in just the SEC, but the country. I think that they're in the top 10 of least penalties against in the country. So that can either show that you're very disciplined, but hell, that 19 team, yeah, they didn't have a lot of penalties, but, there were times, man, I remember, what was it, the Texas game? I think the beginning of the game, they had 2 holding calls that kind of brought them back. And, but look, they were dominating. Clyde had that big run. So I kind of agree with Mike there on that one. Bill says, good to see you back in the studio. No hurricane is going to keep you down too long. Hell no. Hell no. To the no, no, no. Hell to the no. Let's see. Ryan Thibodeau says, hashtag Ask Blake. Hashtag saw Tibbs rants. I did not. I don't know. And I don't mean this. I don't mean this in a wrong. Are you talking about yours on my post today? Yeah, I did see that. So many people took that out of context of what I said last night. Like, and maybe that's on me. Maybe I didn't explain it good enough. And look, I'm still learning in all of this. But guys, I mean, it's one thing. Here's, and the more that I thought about it, here was the thing from last night when I said families are off limits. I might have said the things that I've said about Nick Saban and the truth behind why he left LSU. I might have said the same thing about Sarkisian. But the thing about Sarkisian and Nick is that I've never, and I mean ever, said anything about their wife. So I think it got blown out of context. Guys, you got to keep family and kids off limits. You got to keep family and kids off limits, because I know for a damn fact, you say something about my son or my wife, we going to have issues. I mean, I know that it's not Ed's wife, but that's a different, we talked about that last night. Let's move forward. All right, let's get to 2 more. And then Carter, the power, Bryant from Nottingham will be joining us. We'll talk some film breakdown. Jacob Cole says, Andre Anthony has become a vocal leader. Just seems like that guy. He has been vocal. I mean, look, I heard he got in some guys' grills this week and said, hell no, to the no, no, no. Brandon sends us some stars via Facebook. Thank you, my friend. And Lamar says, I need Ingram, meaning Ed Ingram, to dominate like he used to. I can get behind that. So let's do this. Let's bring in our good friend Carter, the Power Bryant. Going to get a little closer for this. But before we do that, we got to talk about our good friend Mr. John Patton over at GMFS Mortgage. Guys, serving your beautiful community since 1999. Are you buying a new home? They can help you. You saving money on the mortgage that you have now? They can help you. You even doing a cash out refi? They can help you. 225-614-1234. That's 225-614-1234. Purchase, refinance, build, or renovate. They're going to help you. John Patton, get over to him today. All right. We are bringing the man, the myth, the absolute legend, Carter Bryant, onto the show. Carter, what's happening?
What's going on, Blake? I hope you can hear me okay. Lou, it's amazing. You have like law firms, mortgage lenders, and I mean, I'm only sponsored by OnlyFans. That's it. That's all. That's all I got. Look, it looks like you're in a law firm right now, man.
I am in a law firm. Look, Carter, we didn't have power. We did not have internet. It's still down.
Right.
Hurricane Ida can STTD DB for all I care. So we are in the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. And listen, Carter, you know what else? You know what else we got?
What's that?
Do you notice what this is?
Let's go.
Let's go.
Look at that, man.
You like that? You like that?
That is great, man. And you got you got a nicer webcam now, so you should be the one starting the OnlyFans, man. Go on ahead, man. Dude, who doesn't want to see Blake feet pic, man? Come on, let's do it, man. No, I'm kidding. Man. You know what's interesting? So one of your viewers a minute ago brought up Ed Ingram. It is really fascinating, right? So you look back to the UCLA game, and I honestly thought Ed was LSU's he just wasn't good. He was not good at all. So this is what's really fascinating about that. So he didn't have a great game. And a big reason why Max had the throw behind his head, everyone remembers the iconic play, was because Ed whiffed. He got beat on a swim move. That's what Mason Smith uses. That's what Jaquelin Roy uses. And everybody gets beat, right? So what's really fascinating was he then spoke to the media. And the one thing I really liked about that was he actually backed it up this past weekend against McNeese State. I thought he did dominate. I thought he had one of his better games in an LSU uniform. But this is the thing, Blake, is this was FCS. This was McNeese State. So the thing about it, and honestly, I know people are going to get tired of us here, and well, it was just McNeese State. So obviously asterisk on everybody's performance because this was LSU's first game against an FCS team in quite some time. But it was good to see Ed out there crushing souls, chalk outlining people. That was good. That was good to see. Now, the rest of the offensive line obviously was a little bit different. So, Ed, I got a big player for everyone to look out for this coming Saturday against Central Michigan. It is none other than Chasen Hines. Okay, so Ed Orgeron, obviously he's not the most famous person in the world right now. We don't love him as much as we used to.
Speaking of a guy that needs the OnlyFans account, right?
Yeah, right. Well, and this is what's really fascinating. So people that watch my channel, right, people that have watched Power Hour LSU know that I was very critical of Chasen Hines. And he was bad last year. He was really, really bad. Now, that seems pretty harsh, but it's just true. I like Chasen Hines. I like what he's done. He does the right things. It was never a case where he just wasn't playing hard. He just never really got in a rhythm. But here's what's really fascinating, Blake. This is what's really interesting, is that Chasen Hines was actually good against UCLA. I was really shocked. So now this is where we really need Chasen Hines. This is where, if there was ever a time for Chasen Hines to continue to play at this next level, is now, because we know Austin Deculus isn't going to be there. And you look back, Charles Turner had a really up and down game. So if he's going to be a right tackle, and let's be honest, Liam Shanahan is starting to flatline a little bit himself. So if there was ever a time, I understand that it's not the sexiest thing in the world for me to come on AYS and start off talking about the offensive line.
No, it is.
If there was ever a time, Blake, for our fellow chunky guys out there to step up, it is this time. It is right now. Because I will say one thing. I understand Brad Davis is under a lot of pressure. This guy's getting a lot of money. He's getting over $800K a year to fix this issue. I will say this. The offensive line is playing smarter, okay? We're not seeing as many wide open blitzers come through untouched. UCLA game was a little bit better when it comes to blitz pickup compared to what it was last year. But now it's time to execute. Now it's time to clean all of that up. And we really need 57, the right guard, to continue his great play.
I think that you're 100% accurate from O-line standpoint. You know, the first touchdown to Booty, if you remember, it was delayed blitz. He passed the tackle. It was just a one technique, but he passes the one technique over to the center. He kicks out. He picks up the blitzer. Max steps up in the pocket, delivers touchdown. Carter, I agree with you. I actually believe, and look, this is kind of like, and I can say this because I've known Adrian McGee his entire life.
Right.
It is the Adrian McGee Ed Ingram syndrome. Anthony Bradford starts, then all of a sudden here comes Chasen Hines. There was 2 plays in there, Carter, where I saw him dominate from a run perspective. You remember the 7-yard run from TDP that was on the right side on him? That happened twice. So I agree with you there. And you need that road raider, right? Like you need somebody to go out there that's going to flatline somebody. Here's my question, though. And look, I know that a lot of people, myself included, has talked about this offensive line, and we talked about how bad they are. They have been bad. Carter, I have tried, and I know that you do the film breakdown, but try to explain it better, because let's call it what it is. 5 doesn't block 7, 5 doesn't block 6. There were times where it seemed as if, like the McNeese State game, I forget what down it was. Regardless, Max had 7 seconds in the pocket. He takes a sack. Carter, that can't happen.
That can.
And so my question to you is, what do you see? Like, because it does feel like, and I think that you're right, they're better at picking up the blitz, but they got to get the backs out of the backfield, catch the football, do something, right? Like, you got to have extensions of the run if you can't run it right now. I mean, am I just oblivious to this? Is this just something I'm coming up with, or do you not agree with me on that at least?
Well, let me defend the offensive line before talking about him a little bit more. Ed Orgeron, the tempo has already said, Ed Orgeron's already said, we're going to pick up the tempo. I will defend the O-line when it comes to this. When you slow things down and you make them sit in a stance for 20 seconds, that is harsh. And, I brought this up in the film review earlier this week, and I actually just stopped it. And I said, if you are over 200 pounds, just over 200 pounds, or just anyone in general, just squat for 20 seconds. Okay. Try and do it. And now imagine the fourth quarter of a game, the tempo's got to be better. And yes, the run blocking needs to be better, but the play calling needs to be better as well. It needs to be more fluid. It needs to be more consistent. But what does this all lead to? Everyone's like, okay, the offensive line's got to be better. Our running backs have got to be better. Will Trey Bradford fix what we need to fix? But this is the key thing, Blake. Quarterbacks are like makeup. They can make anybody look good, man. And part of the reason why the play calls are coming in slow is partially why offensive coordinators say, I'm trying to call the perfect play. And you want to know why offensive coordinators try and call the perfect play? They don't have full belief in their quarterback. And this is the key, right? You go back and look at 2019, and everybody gets tired of bringing up 2019, but this is very important. There were times where Joe made big throws when he was getting hit. And you know this. Most of your viewers know this. You got smart viewers. I watch your show from time to time. But that's the key. Apply that same logic here to Max, and we need him to take that next step. We need him to look off safeties. So before the Trey Palmer play on first down, he had Jure open for a touchdown. But it required him from going first read, second read. And here was a fascinating thing. Was he actually made the right read, he just didn't rip it. So if I was Max Johnson, with that same logic you were using, now that he's hearing Garrett Nussmeier, the same thing with Jason Hines and Anthony Bradford, now that Max Johnson sees that Nuss has some juice, and he does have some juice, right? Maybe this pushes Max to say, look, I just need to be confident. I just need to plant my cleats in the ground. I just need to rip it. Because what happened on the Jure miss was he got tentative. He got scared. He was worried about making a mistake. And you look at Max Johnson's stat line. Yes, he's only thrown 2 interceptions up to this point, which is really good. But sometimes you don't throw interceptions because you're not confident in making more difficult throws. And for Max to keep this job and for LSU to salvage his season, it's going to take him taking that next step, or you'll be seeing number 5 sooner than later.
Carter, so let me ask you this. This is the thought process that I've had. Because the kid, a kid coming in against the SEC East champs, I don't want to hear that Florida doesn't have athletes. I don't want to hear that they're I know that their defense was bad last year. They still got some absolute dogs out there. Okay, like let's not act like they don't. Carter, I've called Ed a liar only once in his tenure when he said that he never told Max Johnson he couldn't run. That's a stone cold lie.
Right.
Because 3 weeks before that, he said, no, we don't want him running.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you think the inability of him maybe mentally saying, you know what, well, I can't get hurt and I can't do this is affecting him? Like,
yeah.
At what point, Carter, when they're sending, UCLA, for an example, the Trey Palmer miss against UCLA, Carter, it was wide open if he would have pulled it and ran. I mean, because they were all out on TDP. At what point do you just got to sit back and say, hey, brother, it's time to let loose? Do you think that they're kind of holding him back in a sense? Because I see that. I feel like there was that couple plays in UCLA. It looked like he was like, hey, man, all right, one read, two read, three reads, not there, let's go. And then he stops like a deer in the headlights.
Right.
Do you think it's something as simple as that? Because he seems like the guy that like, hey, man, 3 reads ain't there. Big Daddy's out the house and I'm gone. or is it something like, what do you feel is like the thing that's off with him that we saw in Florida that we're not seeing now?
Yeah, so the Florida game he just played, it just felt like he was just playing. Now, those some of Max's limitations that we still see now were the same kind of limitations that we're seeing become a thing now, such as the inability to rip a ball outside the hashes has been an issue for him.
Right.
And honestly, it was very interesting because, Garrett Nussmeier went in and immediately just started throwing bombs. What's very he was just ripping it. What's very fascinating about that is if you actually go look at Max Johnson's passing charts. I know you're a fan of SEC StatCat. I use them all the time. I know Clark pretty well just through email conversations about film and all that. But if you actually go look at Max Johnson's passing charts, rarely does he let a ball go over 20 yards through the air. Okay.
So crazy.
It's wild. It really is one of the more interesting passing charts you'll see, because if you go look at other SEC quarterbacks, you'll see some of them at least rip it down the field some of the time.
Not to rudely interrupt you, but
no, go on ahead.
Add to that, like, why do you think that is? Do you think is it the pressure? Is it that they're sending the house? Like, what is it? Like, it's got to be the pressure on some of it, but sometimes it can't be all of that, right? I mean, like, hey, it takes Kayshon Boutte less than 2 seconds to get 20 yards. Right. So what do you think that it is?
Yeah, so some of it is play calling. But honestly, some of it is that he doesn't have the Nuss cannon. He doesn't have the Miles cannon. Right. It's not his strength. This was an interesting stat. And I follow mostly LSU. I am a Saints fan just a little bit. But Jameis Winston threw a ball over 50 yards through the air. And
first time since 2017, by the way. Seriously.
Yes. Drew Brees never did it because that's just not his strength. But the thing is you never saw Drew Brees throw an unconfident ball. He was confident in what he saw. Max just doesn't have that right now. I don't know exactly why that's the case. Some of it is just the fact that he's a year 2 starter, right? Some of it is just the fact that, outside of Kayshon, there's a really heavy rotation at wide receiver, which needs to shrink. So, so here's what's interesting, Blake. We as LSU personalities and as media people, we talk about these things, but now let's find some solutions, right? I think one major solution, and this was what I brought up in my video today, is I think Mickey Joseph and Mangus need to shrink the wide receiver rotation.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
So look, Blake, I know you got viewers in A-Meet. I know we've been hearing for a while about Devonta Lee. And guess what? I got viewers in Kentwood, and we hear about Trey Palmer, and Trey's getting his opportunity to play, right? Well, look, it's pretty clear that there's only 2 guys right now that are moving the needle, and it's number 1 and it's number 80, okay? Those are the only 2 guys right now that are really pushing buttons, that are really putting the defense in bad spots. So what I would do is, look, Cole Taylor's a great story. Grand Junction, Colorado. He stepped up for us when we really needed him, when Eric put us in a bad spot.
Got a shoe thrown.
Did the shoe throw, and that's great. But right now, athletically, he's just overwhelmed. He's just overwhelmed right now. He's not ready. Sometimes you're just not ready. Sometimes people aren't ready, okay? Trust me. I was in stand-up for a long time, and when open micers would go up to try and do a 20-minute set and they would be bombing 3 minutes into it, it's very awkward. That's how I feel sometimes when you see Cole Taylor, and the game's just moving a little too fast for him right now. It's not for Jack Bech. His blocking against McNeese was really good. And what was interesting was, going back to SEC StatCat, he brought up that the Kansas City Chiefs play that they used for Jack Bech on one of his last receptions, it was very fascinating. It's kind of like LSU's looking at Bech and like, do we have a, once again, me and you aren't hot take all-time great comparisons, but they could be Googling plays, Travis Kelce plays. And when you actually Google that, that's actually the first play that popped up that they ran. And that was what my video was about today. So what I would do, one major solution that would help Max out is keep number 80 and number 1 on the field at all times.
I don't disagree with that.
And then just let's see who else is going to be that guy. And that will obviously help Max out big time.
Well, look, it's clear to me that he has trust, meaning Max, in 3 dudes. The 2 dudes that you mentioned, and I do think that he trusts Trey Palmer. Like, let's call a spade a spade. He threw it to him, he caught 7 balls, but threw into him 11. I have a feeling, Carter, that he does trust him. And look, they got to find ways to get him in a little bit more explosive. Carter, he's one of the fastest human beings on the let's just call it the truth, on the planet. Okay, you got to find a way to get him out in space more. Besides running quick hitch, quick slant, quick hitch, quick slant. Like the separation that he's gotten on the touchdowns, I think is something interesting. We do have a couple of questions that are firing in here for you. Yeah. One from Greg Schilling. He says, #Ask Blake Ask Carter. What player has surprised you the most so far this year, positive or negative?
That's a good question. Can you still hear me, Blake? I don't know why. I think my mic just crapped out. Can you still hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, so player that surprised you the most up to this point, I think the answer has got to be Cordell Flott. He's had a good first few games here. Now, it's kind of like the Jason Hines thing where, you look at him last year, it wasn't pretty, right? Well, we're only 2 games in. We don't want to say that that Cordell Flott has turned some amazing corner, but right now he is playing really, really well. Let's hope that continues. I hope so, because I like Cordell a
lot. Anybody negative?
Man,
and I hate to put you on the spot like that.
No. So look, I've brought up the Cole Taylor thing a few times. I like him a lot. He's just not ready. He was never going to be a guy until year 3 anyway. Until Eric would eventually get moved to more of a receiver role. I would guess that would have been their plan. I think that's huge. I would like to see Max play a full game with Bech at the full-time tight end, because Max has only played with, and honestly, let's just do some simple logic here, okay? Who was Max's best wide receiver that he threw to in high school?
I mean, I would say his brother.
Okay?
Right.
So his brother played probably a very similar Kelce type of role. So if we actually do some logic, that role is something that Max used a lot, right? And when Max was in high school, his wide receivers actually got hurt a lot. It was kind of random. But so Jake was his best option. So I would like to see Bech.
Hell of an option.
Yeah, I mean, he's unbelievable. I hope to see Bech, Johnson, and Butte next year. It'd be great. But it would be nice to see them play a full game there. And then honestly, look, I'm a big Armani Goodwin guy. I think he's the most talented back on the team.
No doubt.
You just can't get healthy. You can say TDP, you can say Emory. You obviously it's a disappointment that obviously Emory can't be here right now for whatever reason. But it's wild to me that we're still in this spot and we're not able to run the football. It is still just so like to the level of how bad it is. So, obviously that's probably the biggest disappointment. Now, I will share this concern. It's a great question. I am a little concerned about the defense. It was more dominant against McNeese. I just hope that they still consider being a little bit more unpredictable pre-snap. And because look, against McNeese, you're just going to have better players, so it's not going to matter. But there are a lot of good quarterbacks in the SEC this year, and we got to be ready to throw some different looks at them. If not, we're just going to get shredded.
So let's stay there. Let's stay on the defensive side very quickly. For me, I'm not going long. I've already made this known. The positive for me, I would say right now is kind of twofold. The two interior guys and Mason Smith and Jaquelin Roy. Stop telling me they can't play against the run. Stop that bullshit. I'll say it. We're on our show. Stop it. I get it. But the only way you get better at defending the run is being in there. Trust me. I've played it. I would say the negative to me, or maybe I don't even want to say negative. It's just a bad word. Derek Stingley. Pro Football Focus has him graded at number 50. Look, at what point do you come up and say, look, I'm that guy? I think that's I don't think that it's a talent. It's not a talent problem. It's a focus problem. And I think that he's got some rust he's got to knock off, but that's mine, Carter.
Yeah.
And look, I'm going to leave it there. But I do want to get to the defensive side. The one thing that let's talk about aggravating or something that needs to be fixed. I am tired, like you personally. I'm getting frustrated with the vanilla defensively. I'm watching Peyton, Eli, and Russell Wilson, 3 really great quarterbacks in the NFL and in college. And the Ravens are doing things. Peyton talks about how much film that he watched of the Ravens defense. And he goes, well, this guy's coming, and they're running zero coverage. Carter, they have 11 guys on the line of scrimmage, 11 to confuse Derek Carr. And he goes, I've never seen this before in my life. These 5 guys are coming. The opposite 5 came. And you're confusing one of the smartest quarterbacks of all time. I say that to say this, Carter, at what point do we, I'm not the hot take guy of saying, oh, there was never nothing on Bo Pelini from last year. But at what point do we stop getting vanilla? I mean, can we see a dang blitz? Is that something that's frustrating you like me? And do you think that what can they do to start being more unpredictable? Because they got the guys defensively.
Yeah. So the first thing is I'm actually doing a deep dive on this very thing, right? So just to give you a little preview, because your viewers are just the absolute best. You know what's interesting? You look at the 2018 class, right? And you look at the 2019 class. Now, this is what's really fascinating. Blake, you disappeared. I hope I'm still here.
No, you're here. You're here.
Oh, so it's just me. I feel scared now, man. Like,
no, my bad.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. Your viewers went up when you
I was trying to share the stream to the YouTube stream to Twitter saying Carter Bryant was in here, and I didn't want people to see me on the phone.
Oh yeah, no,
we're here. We're here. Continue.
No. So this is what's really fascinating, right? So, like, LSU saw a lot of good players from that 2019 cycle go because of the scheme shift, right? Mm-hmm. So this might be a sore subject, but I'm going to talk about some players that are no longer with the team. So Marcel Brooks, after the
God bless Jesus.
Yeah, so he would still be like a defensive contributor. Now, would he have been like Chason Good or someone like that? We don't know. But he was solid. Ika was a solid, if not really, really good Tyler Shelvin type of talent. So you lost guys that are good tackle football players, right? And the run fits have been not so great. So
they've been horrendous.
Yeah,
Carter, let's call it, brother. They've been horrendous. Let's call it what it is. It's not bad. It's horrible.
Yeah, and the funny thing is like this. Okay, and I understand that there's going to be some viewers, and I've gotten hate mail for being very critical of Ed Orgeron about this. And I know you have as well. And if there was anyone that was more pro Orgeron than you, that backed him more than anyone, it was you. Okay, you supported him better than basically anyone. So if you're criticizing,
it's not looking good right now.
yeah, no. You were. It wasn't like you were just blindly criticizing him. You made some good points. But the thing is, this is why run fits are an issue. Okay, it's one thing if the coverages are wrong, but if there is something that Ed Orgeron would know, it would be fitting the run. That would be the one thing. Gap sound football. It's honestly not really that hard. Okay, so let's look at McNeese's final drive. Okay, it was a blowout game. We were winning by a lot, but our run fits were really bad on the first big run that they had, where nobody was just filling the B gaps. Now, if you play football, you understand that as you move away from the football, those are the more important gaps you have to follow. So
no question.
So you got to always have your A gaps accounted for. But in the run game, really now, you got to have your B gaps accounted for. Well, no one was there. McNeese just handed it off, and the running back just ran right through it. Now, we don't know whose assignment that was, but this is the scary thing about that, Blake, is that there might not have been an assignment. That might have been what LSU's run fits were, because on film, going back to last year, their run fits were also bad. And guess what else? The run fits in the spring game were also bad.
Horrendous. Yes.
So bad. So bad. So, yes, Derek Stingley, he does deserve some blame. Man, it's kind of hard to say because, we don't know the coverages and all of that. But it is very interesting that this is obviously a big year for him. So let's talk about the secondary, right? Obviously, LSU safety play has not been great. I think what happened to the safeties were two things, Blake. I think the first thing is we got a little spoiled, right? We went from Jamal Adams, and then we went from Jamal Adams to Grant Delpit, and then before that, we had Eric Reed and Brandon Taylor, who you obviously know way more than
Frank Town, baby. Ho, ho.
Yeah, and Brandon Taylor was a good player. But the thing was, it wasn't just those guys. I mean, there was guys like John Battle and Ronald Martin, and just solid guys, just decent football players. Well, just based on the last since the Pelini era into now, we haven't got good safety play. It just has not been good. Now, some of it is just those guys aren't as good as those guys, and that makes a lot of sense because those guys were, big-time NFL guys, Jamal Adams, whoever you want to mention. But something else happened, Blake, is that the rest of the SEC and the rest of college football got better at quarterback.
Correct.
And two things happened. Our scheme and our predictableness became way worse, while our opponents got way better. So the scary thing about what we are about to go through, okay, it's not going to be Central Michigan, it's all these other games, is that we have all these really good quarterbacks that LSU is going to face the rest of the way. And, it's going to be hard to see us having at least one or two dominant defensive performances against these other SEC teams. Now, look, at our hearts, Blake, you and I are both really rah-rah kind of guys, but we also, people come to watch your channel and me or whatever to try and be objective, right? To try our best to be as even keel as we possibly can. And I think you feel the same way. I am still very, very, very concerned about this defense moving forward.
So, last part, and we'll get you out of here.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I got criticized for saying that I thought that the defensive line was not going to be as good as everybody thought that they would be going into the season because they gave up 307 yards to Ole Miss. They got pushed around against Missouri. They got pushed around against Alabama, obviously. I mean, Carter, yeah, I do think that the scheme fits are horrible. I also think that they're just getting absolutely bullied, right? Like,
Yeah.
You know, and here's the thing too: when you're not creative defensively in run scheme, then the offensive, like if I know that the one technique and we're running 32 zone, 32 power, whatever it might be, and I know that he's going to be there in that one gap, I already know my assignment. Versus if that one technique slants into the other gap, then I got to continue to go up into the second level. That's the more difficult things that from an offensive line standpoint it's very difficult to pick up on. I'll never forget my first semester at Southeastern. It was the hardest thing. It wasn't pass blocking because honestly, the truth is you have a zone. You pass off. I mean, it's basically you have a zone. You stay there. You knock somebody's teeth in the dirt. That's just what it is. Carter, they're playing I have never in my life, to me, and I want to get your take on this. And do you think that they're just lining up saying we're LSU and we have the better athletes and they think that they can't scheme? I mean, is it that simple?
Yeah, I think so. I think honestly that's what I was going to say before I got out of here. You know, we could talk all we want about one tech and cover 3 and robber and box and all these different coverage assignments. But honestly, these are very macro things. These are very large picture things. You just can't do that. So, okay, most of your viewers are around our age, if not older, right? So you go back to 03. Like, we just had the baddest dudes, right? And you know, you didn't have to do anything. You had Swagoo and Spears and Lavallee and Williams, and they won us all the games. It was them. Now, we had other good players, right?
Right.
But those guys won us every football game.
Right.
They played at a slower pace, and they could just maul every single human being in front of them. You just can't do that anymore. It's offenses are far more advanced. These play callers are so good. You also got to keep this in mind. Quarterbacks are better. Receivers are better. You can't hit them anymore. They're more fearless. They get the football out of their hands quicker. So you look last year. This is the biggest red flag of everything. LSU was top 3 in the SEC defensively, okay, in turnover percentage, havoc percentage, pressure rate, tackle for loss percentage.
Sacks. I think weren't they top 4 in sacks?
Sack percentage, whatever sack you want to use. And they also, ironically, forced top 3 in the SEC in 3 and outs. So it was very Jekyll and Hyde, right? They would dominate some drives, but the issue is coordinators adjust, coaches adjust, offensive line coaches adjust, and that's the key. You can't just outplay anyone anymore. That's why you see LSU getting beat on crossing routes because guess what? Ed Orgeron is saying, okay, we have Derek Stingley, we have Elias Ricks. They're the 2 best corners in the country. We can just run 2-man under or 1 high and think it's going to work. You just can't do it. You just can't. I loved 03. I love that defense. And guess what? That 03 defense, even though Nick Saban knew that he had those 4 guys, go back and look at the Oklahoma game then. They got really exotic when they needed to.
Marcus Spears touchdown. I mean, for crying out loud, a defensive end, pick 6. I mean,
so that's an ironic thing was they still could have beat everyone just playing straight at up, but Saban and Muschamp still switched it up. Right. So you just and here's where things get a little scary, right? I don't like to speculate. I'm not in the building now. I have some friends and people that do just from my time covering and just being around there and all that. But I don't know the answer to this question. However, I just have a hard time believing that Durante thought what was going to work against UCLA was going to work. I just have a really hard time believing that. And
bingo.
I just do. I just do. Right? I felt like when I was watching that game. So whenever I do film studies, I always say this. I'm not a coach. I played in high school. That's it. Now, there are people that are way better at doing film studies than I do, and I always defer to those people, right? I don't know anything, but watching the UCLA replay, I felt as if that was the first time where I knew more about what was going on than what was actually going on. And once again, that's not me bragging. That's me doing the opposite. That is the exact opposite. I am not paid millions of dollars to do this. I am not. And the scary thing about it was I became friends with a very good UCLA writer. And he actually had, basically, this was just public information. He had what UCLA was going to do offensively just out in the public. And so I read that, the week leading into it. And I was like, okay, well, LSU is probably, they know all this just from watching film. They know that Chip Kelly runs mesh like
nobody's business.
Yeah, and they mesh concepts from time to time, but his number one play is Y cross, right?
Right.
Just a cross. That's all it is. It's not, I don't need John Gruden, spider 2Y banana kind of thing. So basically it's just Y cross, tight end,
yeah, man.
wide receiver. And we just I was appalled. I was appalled. Just because you put Derek Stingley in that position doesn't mean it's going to work. So, yes, I am happy to see our guys play as well as they did versus Movies defensively. I'm happy to see a guy like Cam Lewis who's done all the right things, him have a dominant game.
Hell, best defensive player, in my opinion, in the secondary last week.
Yeah, Cam was great. But here's the scary thing, is that this is not how it's going to be. And Jim McElwain is an experienced coach, and hopefully we get it done. And that's the scary thing as well, is that you have me on the week before Central Michigan to speculate on whether or not we're actually going to get the job done. I think we will. I think LSU will get it done, but that's why they play the game, right?
In my defense, I was bringing you on UCLA the primetime week, but then Hurricane Ida had, I will say this. I agree with you there, brother. They were running nickel in when UCLA's in 13 personnel. I mean, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
You're running a nickel in when you have 3 tight ends on the field. Unbelievable. Yeah. This is unbelievable. Carter the Power Bryant, my man, you've been fantastic. Tell everybody where they can find you. I know where to go. I know a lot of people in here know where to go, but just in case, tell them where they can find all your great stuff.
All you got to do is go to Power Hour LSU on YouTube. That's all you got to do. Just type that in, POWERHOUR LSU, okay? So our video today was about Jack Besh and how they took the play from the Chiefs or whatever, but let's hope, man. And understand, I'm just going to say this on Blake's behalf, and I'll say it on my behalf as well. It hurts us to be critical. I wish it was 2019 where we could just be flipping upside down. I wish it was 03 where we could be talking about Lavalley and all those guys. But, yeah, man, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'd be calling Tom Herman all kinds of Rudy Poos.
Oh.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon. That is Carter the Power Bryant. Always fantastic, guys. Go check out all of his stuff. I love having him on. I know I went a little long with him, a little longer than we should have, or I should not say should have, longer than we normally do, not should have. I love that guy. Tony Williams says Shark Burger can outcoach Joe. Yeah, we'll see. Well, guys, we did go a little longer tonight. Let's do this. I'll get your score predictions. Fire them in the chat. We'll do them tomorrow along with our picks. And look, we'll be back for the post-game show. So after the game Saturday night, be ready to go. We'll be doing the post-game, and we'll be here live on location at the Drake Williams Law Firm. But until then, guys, I appreciate Carter the Power Bryant. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and anywhere you listen to anywhere you listen to your podcast. We greatly appreciate it. But until then, we'll see y'all soon. Have a good night.